Hello, beautiful boss babes. Are you ready to chase life with Kelly? Well, I'm your host, Kelly Chase, and I'm so excited you're here. We are going to talk about all things love, dating, relationships, money mindset. We're going to dive deep into self-love, worthiness. I am going to bring on some incredibly empowering guests. We're going to have fun, we're going to laugh, and perhaps we're even going to shed some tears together. I am here to empower you, inspire you, and motivate you to create the life you crave. I am so excited for today's episode. Let's dive in. Hello, babes. Welcome back to the Chase Life with Kelly podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Chase, and I want to introduce you to a phenomenal woman. Her name is Arabelle Yee. She is a transformational entrepreneur and certified psychotherapist. Welcome to our show.
I am so very excited, and I love that. I love that new title you just gave me. I love it.
I'm like, yeah, I don't know why. I was just like, I think transformational entrepreneur. I feel like, yes, probably every entrepreneur is like, well, that's what I do. I transform people's lives, but it just has had a nice ring to it. So I just added it before.
It does. I love it. Thank you so much for having me here. And thank you for doing this podcast while it's late for you, so thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you so much. And I know so Arabelle is 12 hours ahead. So it's her morning and it's my evening. So we're making it work. I mean, that's what we got to do.
Making it work. Yes.
Yeah. So I would love to know how you got started how did you land in what you're doing today? Because I understand you have helped thousands of people. Do you work solely with women or do you serve everyone?
Yeah, so it's a mix. However, I would say that 80% of my audience are women and clients are women. Mm-hmm. But how did I get started? How long do we have?
Well, yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, just start, we'll flow.
Well, in short, I have been in the corporate for about 10 years. I was climbing the corporate ladder because that's what I've always known. The people before me, the people around me, that was the life, to climb up the career ladder, to make it there, to find a husband, to have kids one day, to build a life. So I followed all of those steps. And I did pretty much all of that, and none of that worked, or maybe that wasn't really my path. So the last thing that happened was I was working for one of the richest women in the world at the time in Australia as well. Mm-hmm. And I was in a mining company, and it was amazing. It was beautiful, a lot of experiences. And what I also realized was one day there was this big celebration happening, and the celebration was around drilling and blasting. Now, that was my first time working in a mining company. I came from investment bank background and also oil and gas. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't really familiar with the drill and blast thing. I've just heard of it. And when I saw it on this big screen, it was about drilling all these little holes in the earth, and then you put dynamites in, and then you blast it so that it's easy to mine. When I saw that, it was almost as if a piece of me died. And while everybody was just clapping and cheering and yay, I was just like, I found myself standing at the back of the room, just feeling like asking myself, what am I doing here? What am I doing? Am I the biggest hypocrite or not? Because I'm earning a lot of money. I'm making a living. I bought a house, I bought a car, I bought all of that. And yet I said, I love the earth, I love nature, I love the environment. And so, I think it was just the last straw that broke the camel's back. Obviously, it wasn't the reason why I quit, but it was my soul had been knocking from within way before that. just saying, Arabelle, it's time for you to move on to something else. But if you've been in the corporate for 10 years, you don't really know what else you can do because that's all you knew, right? So I was a change manager, organizational change manager. I was like doing a lot of project management, program management. And I was like, do I become like a change management consultant? I don't know. So to cut the story short, I literally went through the self-inquiry process. And then I asked myself, what is the one thing that lights me up when I was growing up? And I realized that the only thing that I would always play, like I would play, with pots and cooking and all of the things. But the one thing that I would always come back to was teaching. I would set up a blackboard. At the time, we didn't have whiteboards. We only had blackboards. So I would set up a blackboard. I would make my dogs sit in front of me because I had like a bone and I'm like, sit, I'm going to teach you today. So I was like, okay, that's good. I love teaching. What else is there? And I realized that among all my friends, I was just like everyone. I wasn't a special, intelligent kid. I was just like everyone. But what I did notice was all my friends would always come to me with their deepest, darkest secrets. They wouldn't go to anybody else, only to me. And I was like, okay, there must be something that I have that they feel safe to come to me with all their secrets. And so I was like, maybe I should do something that has to do with working with a lot of people. So I started researching, and to cut the story short, I was like, you know what, should I do counseling? Should I do this psychotherapy thing? I don't know what that is, but it's like working with people. So I ended up doing a training while I was still working full time. Mm-hmm. And then after that, I quit my job. I started my little psychotherapy practice in my home. And that's how it started. But it's been almost 10 years now. Everything has shifted and evolved so much. Yeah. I don't actually identify myself as a psychotherapist that much anymore. It's like we're all multifaceted human beings. That's why when you ask me, Arabelle, like, how do I introduce you? I'm like, I don't know. It's too long. Just say entrepreneur. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I love that story. Because granted, like I said, before we started recording, I was like, I feel like I always want to learn someone's story because I feel like it is what obviously makes you who you are today. And oftentimes, especially those who are on my podcast, our guests have turned, a challenge, a hardship, a heartache, something they didn't identify with, whatever, into what they're passionate about now. And that's what they're doing. And they're creating such impact and such purpose. They're living in such purpose. So you're just, you're walking your walk in that way. And I love that.
Yay. Yeah. It's been a journey. I haven't told that story for a long time now, because it's been so long. I feel like I've lived lifetimes since, so much has happened. And where I am now and what we are able to create. And when I say we, a lot of people ask me like, so you keep saying we, who's the we? And I said, well, it's me and my team. Like I see my team as my family, and I always use the word we rather than me. And the impact, the scale that we are able to reach, and the things that we are able to do together as a team. We've come a long way.
Love that. That's amazing. So as an entrepreneur, as a transformational entrepreneur, what is it exactly that you do? What has your business evolved into?
Yeah. So since that story, I've done a business coaching, I've done life coaching, I've done therapy. I was helping people with addictions, all of that. And then from there, it just shifted and evolved. And, I've also shifted myself many times. And now I have multiple projects going on. We are creating some wellness products, which I can't wait to reveal when it's all ready to be revealed. It's not going to be ready until like 6 months or so. So we've got a lot of things happening. And also I help people to really find their voice, remember who they are, and for them to unlearn because I come from a country called Burma, which is now known as Myanmar. Many people don't know where Burma is because the Burma has been hidden sort of, from the rest of the world for so long. And I come from Burma, that was shut out from the rest of the world for so long. I did not go to private school. I did not come from a rich family. I was just a normal girl born in a normal family, a middle-class family. And yet I have been able to come out of the country and, find who I am. And that is a big process of unlearning all these conditionings that I have learned. And, with every culture, with every country, with every society that you're born into, there are always good things and bad things that you are given, right? So I was never good at speaking. I was never good at expressing myself. I was never good with boundaries. We were always taught to say yes. As girls, we've got to be polite, and we don't actually ever express what we desire. And in a lot of Asian cultures, there is a thing called a meeting after meeting. So you actually do a meeting, so that's just a formality, but you actually have another meeting after the meeting because that's when you actually talk about things.
Oh.
Yeah, it is interesting. So for me to become assertive as a young girl back in the days, not so young anymore, and for me to be able to express myself, to be confident with the way that I present, and also to actually believe in myself that, what, if I put my mind to it, whatever project, whatever that we want to create, we can create. That's been a journey. So for me, it's really that helping people to be able to tap into their personal power. And what I've also realized is that, just 5 years ago, I was coming out from a very emotionally abusive relationship, and I was a brand new mother. And so I became a single mother after my little boy turned 6 months, and I had almost zero income. I didn't have any financial support. I didn't have any physical support. And I was also determined that I would never beg for money. So basically, I decided that, what? If I want to show my son that when you put your mind to something, like there is nothing that you can achieve, I've got to get to work now. So after 6 months, I decided to leave the abusive relationship. It took everything in my power to make that decision. And then after 6 months of within 6 months of walking away, I was able to generate $500,000 in the business. And I didn't even know because brand new mom, a little bit crazy, getting 2 hours, of sleep every single night, doing everything all day, every day, all night. But I did go to a workshop, and in that workshop, the facilitator said, well, you got to know your numbers. And I was like, I don't know my numbers. And he said, well, now pull out everything. Let's calculate everything. And that was when I realized that, oh my gosh, we made $500,000. Well, I made $500,000. Wow. And that was when I actually hired somebody to start helping me with the business. And then within 12 months, we hit 1.58 mil. And it's been 5 years now. And we've done multiple millions now. And so to me, it's as you know, all these numbers are just a representation of an internal shift. Right. So that was when I'm like, you know what? If a single mother who had 2 hours sleep every night for about 2 years, it was hard, it was full on, going through a whole new big emotional turmoil. And yet, if I can create that, everybody can. So that was also the time when I got to rewrite this whole story of that I learned in the personal development industry, that you've got to heal yourself in order for you to make money. And it's like, no, it's not true, because I was definitely far from healed. You know, I was going through this whole big thing, and yet I was able to create that. So to me, like I unpacked everything, and now that's what I help people do as well. Like as women, how can we actually tap into that kind of wealth? Tap into that kind of frequency? Because what I've seen specifically after COVID, now we have 19 people in my team. Wow. And we have men in the team as well, but majority are women. And some of them are mothers. After COVID, the husbands got laid off from their jobs, their businesses came to a stop. There was a lot of financial stress, but I promised to them that, hey, as long as you are in my team, I'm going to look after you. I'm going to take care of you. You have nothing to worry about. And what I've seen specifically 2020 up until now is that the women in my team and the women in my community have become the breadwinners. And what it does is it actually give room for the husbands to actually think, what do I actually want to do? What do I want in my life? And so I'm seeing all this like big, huge domino effect simply because I decided to go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And I could see, when the woman becomes the breadwinner, I could see that could maybe pose some conflict or challenge within a partnership, within a marriage, just because, the guy has the idea that he's supposed to be the breadwinner, of course. So has that come up with some of your clients, and how do you help them to help their partner change their
100%. Yeah, great question, because I've seen that a lot. It does happen. And what I've seen is two types, like in general, right? What I've seen in my community is that one type is that the husbands just project everything on me, because there are people who have not just the husbands, like long-term boyfriends, and they've broken up with their boyfriends, their partners, and they would project everything on me by saying, well, now you break up with me because you're with Arabelle. Now you're walking with Arabelle. Now you're working with Arabelle. Now you're in her world. Then now you break up with me. And it just shows that they are not really ready to see, because it has nothing to do with me. Right. What I do is just empower women. But then there is another type of group of men who would say, I can see that you're really stepping into this power and it triggers me. Can you help me? Can you help me see what I'm not seeing? So the other, the first group of, men, I can't really help their partners to help them because they're not willing to really see or go into that place yet. But the second group of men, then I actually help my clients and my community and some of the people in my team members too, that, have that conversation. Really make them see that this is actually an opportunity. It's just the old identity that's, feeling that. But now it's an opportunity because they are now having the space to discuss as a couple, as a team, like, where do we want to go from here? Now that you have time, now that you have space, now that I can take on this role just for a little bit, where do we want to go from here? What are, like, all these opportunities are coming to us, all these doors are opening for us. And so when they can actually sit down and have that conversation, and if their partners are willing to do that as well, it just changes the entire game.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. Well, you have to be like evolving together in a sense, and super supportive in both of your efforts and everything. So yeah.
100%. Yes.
Oh, I love that. Okay. So you made a really good point earlier. You said that, in the personal development space, a lot of times we hear, you got to heal these wounds in order to start making more money and whatnot. And you were like, no, I was like a hot mess express, and I made a lot of money. So what do you feel like is different and sets you apart? And had that person not come to you and been like, hey, no, we need to look at the numbers. Had you not seen that, how do you think things may have gone? I know that was a smart question.
No. So I think, well, at some point I will see my numbers, it's just that I didn't have the structure because I was so in it. But it was good that I got to see that, oh my gosh, we made $500,000 in 6 months, because that was like a major confidence boost and also a major confirmation that whatever that I was doing was working.
Right.
But to come to that point about us needing to be fully healed in order to manifest money is just so flawed. It's not true. It is not true, because I am the evidence. I was far from healed. I am far from healed. I think nobody is ever 100% healed. And so to me, if I look back and unpack the whole process, one, it was just a decision because I had a big enough why. If it was just for me and just for Arabelle alone, I probably wouldn't have made that much money because I didn't have enough drive, a big why, well, the why that was big enough for me. Because now I have a little human who is relying on me. And also because having seen what I saw in that relationship dynamic, it was very clear to me that I've got to get my shit together, basically.
Right.
And if I want to create a safe space, if I want to teach my son, not through words, but through embodiment, if I want to show my son what's possible, if I want to be the parent who walks her talk, I've got to become that now. So then I was like, what does she look like? I started getting into identity work. I've been doing identity work for many years. I learned first about identity work from Ken Wilber about 10 years ago. But I was like practicing a little bit here and there and helping people in the corporate to really step into a different identity. But I never really figured out how to apply it to myself until that point 5 years ago. And I was like, now is the time for me to really craft my identity. So I didn't do anything because I wanted to become a millionaire. That was actually not in my journal. But I said I wanted to show, like, I didn't do anything. I didn't do all of this because like, I want to make 7 figures. Like, no, I want to show my son what's possible. I want to be the embodiment of what I want my son to become. So what does she look like? How does she move through challenges? So it was a mix of, not playing victim, not stepping into my, not playing victim stories, not choosing excuses, but really making a decision that, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make it happen and I'm going to stick to it. So it was, you can say like, it was almost like this masculine structure that I stepped into and I said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make it happen. And I also put my head down and I started working on and in my business. That's why I didn't even know the numbers. I was just like tunnel vision. I wasn't getting swayed by any naysayers or shiny objects. I was just like, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to make it happen. And then from there, another thing is like really checking in with myself continuously. If I've already created all of this, if I've already achieved this level of success, if I've already, created this environment for my son, what does this version look like me? And I continuously connected to that version of me. And so those were the mix of things that I did, I would say pretty much for the first year. And then after that, I started really, tapping into the energetics, the identity work, the manifestation, because now I have room to breathe, because now, we're making money, the cash flow is there. So then I could go into all of that.
It's interesting because I feel like I have gone the opposite way in my journey, in the sense of like, I've done so much mindset work and I understand manifestation and I understand more of the energetics behind everything. Whereas the structure and system has not been in place for me.
Yeah. Yes.
So yeah, I understand we need both of those to really catapult ourselves. And I really think that is a true statement. Like someone could absolutely, with no mindset work, no energetics, nothing of the sort, build a very successful business on strategy alone. I totally, I mean, we see that. That's a lot of men out there. A lot of men build on masculine and they get it out there and it's successful. But like at some point, it's like, that popular quote, it's like what got you there won't, or what got you here won't get you there, in a sense. And I feel like that could speak to when you got to that place when you're like, okay, I have like this flow because there's a structure, there's a system in place. Now I want to do the even deeper work because that's just going to catapult you even more,
Yeah. So I've been doing the inner work for a long time now, for 10 years, prior to this point. I've gone to the jungles, I've sat in many ceremonies, and I've done a lot of those things. But I think But I think it's about like, because there's no one right strategy, I think it really depends on the person. For me, naturally, I'm very, very good in my masculine. I've always been that way. I have no problem hustling. I have no problem putting structures. I have no problem doing any of that. So to me, I think it just makes sense for me to start building on that. And then in that moment, I also realized that I didn't have the time to go into healing. I can't just be, if I need to cry, I would cry, and then I would just pick myself up and I would just go back and do the thing.
Right.
Because I just didn't have the space. But then when I had the space, when I'm in flow after that first year, then I could really go into the healing. And so the last 4 years, I could say, has been like a big healing journey for me.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. How have you seen, what areas of your life have you seen a significant difference in because you are, have put some intention into that healing over the last few years?
Everything. Everything. I don't like the version of me that you're seeing today is very different from the version of me just 5 years ago. Everything shifted, financially, emotionally, just the people that I attract. I think whatever journey that we are on, I think at some point, a lot of people that I speak to, we all feel really alone. We all feel like, there's nobody walking with us. And I felt that a lot, like for a couple of years on my journey as well. But then I just decided to just keep focusing on what I needed to create. And I think the biggest thing is, like, back in the days, the people that I attracted and the people that I attract now are completely different. Today, I have like friends who are doing incredible things all over the world. I can just go to any country and I can just meet up with people because, I've created this network. I didn't have that before. Before, it was just me behind the computer and that was it.
Right.
My team is incredible. Like, I used to listen and, tune into these master classes about building a soulmate team and all of that. And I was like, what is that? I don't understand that. But I can say now that I have a soulmate team. This is the most incredible team. Like, we hire people from all over the world and they've done work with other big coaches and they come into my company and then they're like, Arabelle, your team is incredible. They would do anything for this vision. And I was like, yeah, because I hired them with the vision. I didn't know how to do that before. Yeah. Like even my community, before I attracted people who would be saying, I'm going to pay you this much, whatever that you're going to get, you're going to give me back, whatever that's worth this much, like very calculative, all that. But now my community, I love hanging out with them. I love having conversations with them. To me, it's like I have my mastermind groups. Going into there, it doesn't feel like work. It just feels like I'm jumping into my friendship group and I'm just having a conversation. So everything shifted.
I love that. I love that. Oh my goodness, this is so good. I'm like, I have so many questions now.
Yes, please ask.
Well, okay. So, just when you were doing, before you started hiring a team, so
yeah.
Was it difficult for you to identify what exactly you were doing? Because you were so, obviously, like, you were so in it, but sometimes we like do stuff and then we're like, I don't know how I even did that. Like, to be able to replicate it, to teach that system and structure. Now that you're incorporating a team, was that difficult for you to like be like, I don't even really know what I was doing? Or did you know exactly what you had done to scale your business to 500,000? What was that like?
Yeah. I think great question. So here's the thing. I think it was a mix of both. So I was, so I have to take a few steps back and tell you the story. So I was my son was about maybe 4 months old. I was really struggling because, I was still in the relationship, but I wasn't getting the support. And there was a lot of things happening. And in that moment, I called my mom, and I've never actually asked for help. I used to be this Miss Independent, and But when you have a child, like you have to ask for help from everyone. So it was good. Like I was able to let go of that identity. But the moment I called my mom and I asked her, can you come over? She knew straight away because I never asked for help. She was like, I'm jumping on a flight right now. I'll be there in the next 3 days. So she got here, well, not in Perth, in Melbourne. She got there. And then she stayed with us, which was really, really healing and grounding for me emotionally. And then after that, I mean, my mom had to go back. At the time, she lived in Burma. She said, why don't you come back with me? And then I was like, okay, all right, that would be really good for me and Eli. So we decided to go back. And then I was thinking, well, if I'm going to be back in Burma, I used to do events there. I was like, I want to put together an event, but this time it's not about making money. It's for me. I want to be around people again, people that I want to be around. And so I decided to put together an event, and I invited all these other different speakers, which I've never done before either. Before, it was just my solo events. Anyway, it was a success. And through these people, new people came into my world, and I started meeting people. I was already in Burma at the time. Every single person that I met up with, they were all telling me this, giving me the same message. They kept saying, Arabelle, it's time you focus on your Burmese community. You've been doing a lot of work in Australia, in the US, in Europe. Now it's time you come back, bring all of the experience and bring it back to your people. And I was like, nah, I don't want to do that. I don't know how to explain these things in Burmese, the resistance. But it's not just one or two or three. It was like consistently, I think it was about 5 to 6 people. And I was like, okay, this is a message for me. Maybe I've got to lean into that. And so I decided to create a course just to see what it's like. And I've been trained all of this thing in English. So it was a big struggle for me to explain things in Burmese. I can't speak in Burmese, but just to chat, to explain like what intuition is, but like manifestation, it was really hard. But I did that. And it was, my first course was called Self-Mastery. And I put it out there. I did not have a following in Burma. People did not know who I was. I was literally a new kid on the block. I don't know what happened. I put that first course out there. I had 790 people enrolled.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, something is happening here. I don't know what it is. Something's happening here. No ads. I just put it out there through word of mouth, all of that. But to me, what that showed me was, ever since The Matrix came out back in 1999, I think.
Yeah.
Like I watched it like 17 times, when I was like, when it came out. And I had the CD that I kept. And the thing that still stuck with me till today is follow the white rabbit. And I've been doing that for the last 20 years. And to me, listening to that message from all these like 5, 6 different people telling me, listening to that and me putting a course together, which was an 8 weeks course. I recorded all the videos, by the way. It wasn't live. I recorded all the videos. I put all the hours in. I did all of that. But I think I created that within a week, and to me, it was like not thinking, trusting, taking action, taking aligned action. It wasn't perfect. And in fact, we put out that course, and this year is the first year since then that I actually redo the entire curriculum. Wow. So this whole time, and I was wearing, Kelly, honestly, when I recorded that self-mastery course, I was wearing like this purple jumper from Kmart.
Yeah.
with my hair in a bun. And I was like, that is so unprofessional, but I did that. So great, because I think it was a combination of the energy was there, the trust was there, the aligned action was there. It was just perfect timing. It's a combination of all of that, and you put it out. I put it out there. 790 people said yes, and ever since then, it's just been phenomenal. The phenomenal journey that we've been on.
Wow.
So to me, it's not just about inner work. It's not just about being a vibrational match. It's not just about hustling I think it's a combination of all of those and the right timing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. It's funny because I mean, granted, I've done so much of that work too, and understanding, what quantum leaping is, and just being that vibrational match. And um, there are times like I don't feel like I've mastered all of that yet. Obviously, I feel like my life would look a lot different than it does right now if I had, but I feel just like sometimes things happen and I'm like, of course it did.
Yeah.
Yes, it did, because obviously, like, let's say it, not even in like business stuff, but like relationships, like intimate relationships. Like, I'm like, I want this, I desire this, I want this, I want this, I want this. And like recently over these last few months, there was situations where there was interest between me and a couple of guys, and it was very quick lived, like very short lived. It was like, hey, let's profess the feelings. We realize it's not going to work out. And like, that was it. And although it's kind of like a disappointment and a bummer and everything, because it's like, well, I like them, but I was bummed for like a minute. And then I was like, God, of course you remove them from my life because they're not it. And I've been asking, like, I want this and this and this. And they were obviously not that. So it was just so interesting, like just how things sync up. And I think that to your point about it just being the timing of things too, like it's just, that was it. Like it may or may not have been the right time for those things, but it just makes sense. Like I'm just such in this, like, I don't know, in a different headspace than I used to be. And I'm like, it's this or something better, this or something better, this or something better. So I try not to like get myself in too much of like a lower vibration, because I'm like, what's the point? It's not meant for me. It's not meant for me. And like, we just keep going. In like business stuff too, like I'm in a little bit of a transition period right now. I'm trying to figure out some things. And I was going to start asking you some questions about the identity work as well, because I feel like that's so powerful. Because I feel, I mean, and maybe I'm speaking for myself, but there may be other listeners that fall victim to this as well. But, we do live in a social media world, and I feel like we get influenced greatly, whether it's conscious or subconscious. We're like taking in things from other creators that we're looking at their accounts. And then all of a sudden it's like, you're posting things and you're like, that doesn't even feel right.
Yes.
It's like, that's not me. So I know that has happened with me before, but it's all affecting how I've been.
Yeah, I was just talking about it with a friend of mine last night. I think cosmically, astrologically, I do not ask me anything about astrology. I don't understand, but I do feel when the planets are shifting, I feel it. I just don't understand what's happening. But if I feel something in my body, every time I check, there's either the eclipse or the new moon or the full moon or something's happening, right? And currently, there's a lot of shift happening as we speak right now. And I know that there's another eclipse coming up on the 5th May. We are in the Mercury retrograde. And so in general, we are almost, all of the people that I been speaking to, we are almost in like a pressure cooker right now. Yeah. And we're being cooked in a good way. It's hot. It's a little bit hard to breathe. It can be quite suffocating and really confusing, because you're in this pressure cooker mixed with the chicken and the onion and the potatoes and meat, and it's like, what is all this? I can't see. Give me a goggles, but then you can't see. And that's the phase that we are in right now. And what I'm seeing and personally feeling too is that we are being asked to put everything on the table and really look at what is in alignment with me and what is not. And like what you said, what have I picked up from other people that is actually not me? But then I've just been subconsciously influenced by all these things that we've been seeing. And so I do have friends who are now saying, you know what, I'm actually getting off social media. I don't want to hustle anymore. I don't want to build my coaching business anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I just want to go back and support my husband and be a good wife. And I was like, great. if that's what's calling you to do it.
Right.
And then there are some people who are like, no, this is the time to double down and make it happen. I'm like, great. We're all in on different journeys. And so to me, my own personal process right now, literally last night, I was talking about it with my friend, is like, I'm asking myself, we've created all of this and it all happened really quick, right? We now have 19 people in the team. And that's, for me personally, a big responsibility.
Yeah.
And we are shifting in terms of our business as well. We are changing the brand. We've started a new company. We're going through so big. And then I look at some of my friends who are married and who have partners, and they're saying they want to, they want to be more softer. They want to support their husbands. They want to take a break. And in my head, I'm thinking, of course they can, because they've got their husbands who are going out and making money. I can't. I'm the only parent, and I have 19 people in my company. I've got projects that are ongoing. I can't stop. So then I'm in this phase right now where do we actually draw the line, or do we even draw the line? Do we just keep on going, or do we step back? What do I do? I don't have an answer right now. But what I do know is all these questions are good, because I think the fact that we're talking about it is good. Because if we don't, then we're still going with the flow. And if the flow is a good one, great, flow away. Right. But if you feel like there are bumps in the flow, and if you are feeling like, I don't know if this is actually me, then I feel personally, astrologically, right now is a perfect time for us to ask those questions. Is this in alignment with me? What do I really need right now? Like yesterday, for the first time, in 3 months, I actually took a day off. So I know there are people who talk about, I work 2 hours a day and I make millions of dollars. To be honest, I don't know if that's true. Right. I really don't know. Maybe it's just a very different reality for me in my world. I'm not sure. But my reality is very different. I don't work 2 hours and make millions of dollars. Like, I work all the hours. Right. If I'm not working on my business, I'm being a mom. So I actually stop only when I sleep. So yesterday I took a day off. I felt great. And I was able to really look at everything that we're talking about today. Like, what's in alignment with me and what's not? What do I need to let go of now? And it could be people. It could be projects. And it's scary.
Yeah, it is. It is. That's kind of where I feel like I'm at. I'm just in this, okay, Kelly, if you can't, I always say this too, like, okay, I tell people, with if they're working a job, they have a job, they don't really love the job, right? So I always at first like try and motivate them to start doing more gratitude. Okay, well, what can you like about the job? What do you love about the job? Like, what can you be grateful for about the job if you right now can't leave it, if you can't make that transition? So I try and like do the same thing in other areas of my personal life as well. It's like, okay, well, if I can't actually change it because I can't control a certain situation, how can I just shift my mindset around it to think about it differently, So I feel like that's helpful in a sense, but I feel like so much of that, like, I'm like, okay, so many big transitions have been happening for me. I mean, I'm like going through this whole like health protocol right now. And like, I'm just having to make a lot of different changes in my life. And again, with like my business stuff, I'm trying to see where, like, even with my podcast, like I had a conversation with a woman earlier today who runs one of the podcast hosting sites. And she was just extremely helpful, because I was like, yeah, I'm like ready to like put my podcast on this hosting site. But then she was like, things don't really start picking up until, this and this and this. And I was like, okay. But it was just like so fascinating, because like there was so much clarity that came from like that conversation that I had with her. And I was like, oh my God. And I don't like, for the later half of the day, I was like emotional about it, because I was like, oh my God, like, I think she just like found my purpose for me. And like, I think that there are certain things that I have been holding on to for longer than they needed to, just because I feel like, it's kind of like that fear of like, well, if I let it go, then like, who's going to come back and like do, and sign up to work with me or like do whatever, but I feel like the whole letting go process really does does and can create space, for us to think. And you taking a day off yesterday, like that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I had to do that a week ago myself. I took an entire day off. I was even off of social media for like a whole 48 hours. Like I was like, I am not even, I'm just like disconnecting. And it really does help you to like get back, in alignment with things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's great that you did that.
Yeah, 100%. And what you said about, I think it applies to everything, like what you said about meeting a couple of guys and not really working out. And yeah, it sucks, it's a bummer, but I just think that it's great that it didn't happen, because it was just really showing you where you're at. And if you really felt certain things with some of them, it just shows that your heart is opening up.
Right.
And it's great, right? So that when you do meet that person, now you know that your heart, the capacity of your heart, how much it can open, how much you can love, or how much excitement you can allow into your life. And then they're just not the right people. And, I apply that same principle and concept in business as well, in working with people. And yesterday I was giving this analogy, metaphor to my CMO. I said, I just had a profound realization since I got back. Because if Dubai, it's like the energy is like it's super fast. It's like in Dubai, everything is just like you're going. It's amazing to create things, to meet people from all over the world, because it's a hub. Perth is a complete opposite of Dubai. It's like very grounding. It's very slow. People don't really get out of the house. You don't really see people. I've been back here for a little over a week. I haven't really seen anybody yet. It wasn't like that in Dubai,
Yeah.
So, but the good thing is that this is giving me space to create space. And what I started to see was this. I said to my CMO that, before it was just me, my ops manager and my finance manager, the three of us, they're like family to me. The way I see it is we were on this little Jeep, like there's sand everywhere. And I'm driving the Jeep and blasting music. And I'm like, let's go. And then we're just going, like just driving down, cruising. And then I'll be like, oh my God, there's a beach. Let's go. And they'll be like, yay, let's go. We would just be doing all these things without structure, without strategy. That's how we've been doing for a couple of years. It's amazing. And then suddenly I blinked, and then I'm no longer driving a Jeep. Now I'm driving a freaking bus with a whole lot of people in the bus. Now I realize that I'm no longer blasting the music. I'm not even in my shorts and thongs. I'm like flip-flops. I knew
what you meant, because my dad called them thongs.
Okay. Because I don't want people to think like they're like songs, like
Yeah.
I'm wearing this like a uniform, but I'm a bus driver now. And I'm screaming at people because they're not behaving, like the kids in the back seat, and I'm like really focused on the steering wheel, and I'm driving because I don't want to go into an accident, or I don't want to take the wrong road. It's not fun anymore. And I didn't even realize I was doing that. And what I was also doing was, before in the Jeep, I was just like, I didn't even have a GPS. I didn't even have my phone on. I was just like really trusting. Hey, let's go. Oh my God, look at that. There's a humpback whale. Let's go have a look. Now I'm like flipping through the book, and I'm like, am I going in the right direction? And it's shifted over the last year or so. And I stopped trusting myself a little bit, and I started asking for other people's opinions and their validations in my choices and in the decisions that I make in the business. And I realized that now it's like, no more. I'm not going to do that anymore, because I built this whole thing based on my chaos magic. I call it chaos magic, because I can be like super spontaneous, and I would make decisions that can be quite scary, but that's always taken me following the white rabbit. And I stopped following the white rabbit for a while. So now we are in this time period right now that's asking us to pull everything out and look at what's in alignment, what's not in alignment. And the first thing that I saw was like, whoa, when did I stop being magical? And And now it's like, Arabelle, you've got to trust yourself again. Yes, you've got a bus full of people. And I said to my CMO after that meeting, I'm like, hey, even if it's a double decker, I'm driving it. Let's put the disco lights in. Let's blast the music.
Yes.
Let's turn this into a party bus. Let's go.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's a great analogy. I want to join the party bus too. I would love
yes,
that.
please.
Yes. That was so great. Oh my God. I love what you said though. You lost your like magic. You felt no longer magical. And I feel like that's kind of like how I've felt that. I have definitely felt that over the last, like, I don't know, probably like month or so. Like I have felt very much like I'm finding it again. And I'm really like stepping more into my power and just kind of like shutting out a lot of the noises. And I think that's why a week ago I was able to like take that like 48-hour social media break. And I was just like, wow, like it just felt so good to just totally disconnect and know and have faith that everything was still working out, it's like, you're not going to like, granted, it was only 2 days off of social media. It wasn't like 3 months, but even still, like, I'm like, we have to take care of ourselves. I'm such a big person, I'm such a big like self-care person. And I'm like, okay, if we're not really taking care of ourselves, we're not going to be able to show up. So, and that really, I mean, granted, social media can quite negatively affect us, mental health wise and with anxiety and depression and all of that as well. So it's like, I know that I have to like take time for me in order to rediscover or redefine what that magic looks like for us. So I love that you said that.
I think you are already discovering that.
I am.
We are having this conversation,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know. Well, that's what I said like earlier. Like I had that conversation with the podcast host and I was like, oh my God. Like, I think that's why I was literally like so emotional all day after that conversation. Cause I was like, I think she just changed my life. And I think I'm about to just change other people's lives, like in such an even more empowering, like impactful way. Like something just like hit my like little inner child. And I was like, I don't know. It was like, I was seen again for like the first time in a while. It was neat. Yeah, it was really neat.
Exciting.
Yeah. Okay. So I know I mentioned this a few minutes ago, but like the identity work, can you explain what that is and like maybe give a couple of tips of like how someone could start to tap into that for themselves?
100%. So the way Ken Wilber explains is that we all have, different identities or archetypes within us. And Carl Jung talks about that as well. So basically, in any given moment in time, we have, the little Kelly there, your inner child. You will also have the visionary, the part of Kelly that is like, I want to create this. I want to, tap into this, like that visionary Kelly. You also have the Kelly that maybe wants to control things, right? Because a little bit scared. Maybe we shouldn't really go there. Maybe we shouldn't really do that. No, it's got to be this way. There is probably the Kelly who is also wounded in the past. And she's afraid of maybe making big, bold moves. Maybe she's afraid of expressing herself. Maybe she's afraid of really following her purpose because in the past it didn't really work out. So even then, like in that moment, you've already got like all these different 4 or 5 different Kellys happening right now. And so if we all look at our lives right now, and it's different in different categories. If we look at money, we can already see who we've promoted in our life. So if you're making a lot of money, great. You've got a great CEO. Maybe that part of you is the visionary, the part of you that can really tap into abundance with ease. But then if you're not making money, if you're having financial struggles, then we've got to look at, okay, who have I promoted it? Did I promote the part of me that is, still listening to what my mom used to say growing up? Did I promote the part of me that is saying having money is not safe, or it's too hard, or if I make more money, I've got to have more responsibility? We can see it clearly. We don't even need to go into a process, right? So if we look at relationships, it's the same thing. Do you keep running away from relationships? Then who have you promoted? in your life. Or if you are having a beautiful relationship, great, like keep, like pay more salary to that part of you, like let her run the show. So just looking all of that, like to me, the first step is to take an audit. Basically, who have I promoted? And as for a lot of people, if I look at my clients and my community, if I look at their relationships, if they are not working together well, I can see that they've promoted the wounded part in them to lead. And so what it does is it also, that part of them also brings out the wounded part in their partner. And so now when they are together, they're not together, their wounded selves are together.
Yeah.
So when they have a conversation, they're just coming from wounds and triggers and traumas. And how can this relationship thrive? And it's the same thing with money and everything. So the first step is to really look at, who have I promoted? Who do I? And we don't fire them because we can't, right? And if we fire them, to me, it's like, it just creates more chaos, because who wants to be fired?
Right.
And if that part of you doesn't make a fuss about it, but she's going to go into depression, she's going to go into all these, episodes. Or if she actually comes back and make a big fuss about it, then you're going to be in trouble too. So to me, it's like, it's not about firing them. This is where true self-leadership comes in. And it's like, I sit down and have a meeting with my team, internal team, all the time. So I say I have an external team and I also have my internal team. And I sit down with them and I talk to them. And if I've promoted the wrong person in certain areas, and I would talk to that part of me and say, I love you. Sorry, I can't run this show anymore. You can still be part of the team. You can go back to the back seat. You can enjoy the scenery. Let me do the hard work. Let me drive this car. You can take a nap or whatever. And if you want to throw a tantrum, it's okay too. Come and sit in the front seat for a while. You can't always be sitting there. You just can't. So it's like really parenting ourselves and really leading ourselves and creating that harmony and balance within our team. So just think about, like, if you were a CEO of a company, how would you lead the people in the team? If you are a mother, how would you lead your kids? And that's exactly what we need to do. Right. So once we've done that, the next thing is we've got to reshuffle our team. So then from today onwards, who do we promote? Who do we sort of demote? Right. We do all of that. And then the next step is the soul practice. And the soul practice is really tapping into this vision that you want to create in your life. So if you want to become a multimillionaire, what does the multimillionaire version of you look like? If you want to build schools in Africa, what does that version of you, who can draw so much resources and money and people in for you to create this dream and this vision? If your vision is to be able to buy a beach home and have a family, have a man who loves you and adores you, have 3 dogs and 5 kids, great. What does that version of you look like? And really tapping into that version of you, and then writing down in your journal, from literally things like, what does she wear? Like, the clothes that I wear today is so different from what I used to wear back in the days. It's funny, Instagram popped up the memories stories yesterday, and I looked at the memories, and it was just like 3-4 years ago. I had a story about me packing to go on a trip, and I looked at the clothes in that suitcase and I was like, wow, I would never wear that today. I don't even know why for those, When I was in that relationship 5 years ago, he would buy expired meat. He said to grocery store, he would buy like meat that are about to expire because like that's on sale. So he would buy that and he would keep that in the fridge for a year or 2 years. And he said, we can eat this. And I did that. I don't know why. I don't recognize that part of me at all, So it's literally rewiring. Even friends, what kind of friends do I have? Even like my tolerance levels, like what do I tolerate and what do I not tolerate?
Right.
Including myself, So all these things, really getting clear in all areas of my life. It doesn't have to be like I only wear Louis Vuitton and carry Gucci bags now. Like, it's not that. It doesn't have to be that. It doesn't also have to be that I only eat organic now. It's great if you can. And if you can't, it's fine too. Right. But it's like, I'm choosing to eat this. I'm choosing to wear this. I'm choosing to be around these people. I'm choosing to have these kind of habits, and I'm choosing myself every single day. That's the identity work. So when I do that, and it's not a one-off thing, it's like a continuous thing.
Yeah.
And the version of me that I am today is has been created in my journal since 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And it did not happen over time. It just happened. It did not happen overnight. It happened over time.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like literally connecting to that version of you and really pulling that future into the now. And it just makes things so much easier and faster. So when I'm about to make big decisions, I always ask myself, is this decision supposed to be made by this Arabelle or that Arabelle? And that Arabelle is my future version of Arabelle, who's already created certain things. And so if that's what I want to create, I'm not going to make this decision today. I'm going to let her, that's future Arabelle, make this decision. And you know what that's going to make? This current version Arabelle really uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And that's what makes us grow and change and get stronger.
100%.
Oh, I love that. That's so good.
Yeah.
Oh, I do. I love that. And I've heard, I mean, granted, I've heard of this type of work before. And just like, I think probably maybe my first mindset coach, she was like the one to first introduce me more into like the manifestation techniques and that, like what you just said about like, okay, how does like the future you show up? You know, how does she start her day? Like, what is she wearing? What does she stress about? That kind of thing. And, you know, again, like I said at the beginning, I was like, I haven't like mastered all of that yet, you know, but because I have been, you know, I've been made aware and I've been, you know, in it, like I've been exposed to that type of language and techniques and whatnot. Like I find myself sometimes like, it's almost like my old self and my future self like battle each other a lot.
Yeah, all the time.
All the time. So like even earlier today, like, last week I was invited to go do this, be a participant at this nonprofit event in California. And the lady was like, yeah, you know, we have everything covered. And she thought that I lived in California. She didn't know I lived on the East Coast. And I was like, she's like, where are you at again? In like Los Angeles? And I was like, no, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. And she's like, oh, she's like, like everyone that we were getting as a participant lives in California. So I didn't even think about flights or anything like that. She's like, so unfortunately, just because it's nonprofit, we haven't got the funds yet to like, I can't fly everybody, you know, that kind of thing. So I was like, that's fine. And I go like straight onto Delta's app, and because I am bougie about Delta, I will only fly Delta. The prices are just so crazy right now. Like the flight prices, I was like, what is going on that weekend? Like, why are these prices so astronomical? But so I was like irritated, like I was bummed because I'm like, I don't know if I can, like, it would be stretching myself very thin if I were to like do this. But I'm like, it's so in alignment with who I am and who I'm becoming and like my purpose and everything and what I'm so passionate about. And anyways, this morning I was like just kind of in my feels about it again. And then I was like, Kelly, how would your future self think about this right now? And all of a sudden I just like had this thought and I go, Kelly, you have always wanted to be able to donate a lot of money to like charities and fundraisers and nonprofits and things like that. If you technically want to think about it, you could think about that flight being that donation, because you are going to do something really powerful in that meeting in San Diego. So it was just a mindset shift. Granted, I'm not saying like, okay, everyone shift your mindset and go like put yourself into bankruptcy or anything like that. But I know it's not going to stretch me that thin that I'm going to like fall into debt and crazy stuff. But I just didn't know if I should spend it. But like that right there was really like my future self being like, okay, like this is how she would have handled, like, this is how she would handle this right now. You know, it's not a worry. Like, cool. Like it's a donation. It's for a good cause. It's not, you know, and I do think that I do believe that there's like good debt and bad debt out there. So I was like, you know, I think that it pretty much helped me with my opinion. And then the girl like sends me an email like 3 hours later, and she was like, "Hey, I like talked to my team, and we're gonna like contribute to your flight."
Yay!
I know. So contribute something, you know. And I was just like, "Oh my God, like thank you, thank you, angels."
Awesome. Yeah.
It was just neat. But I think it's just, you know, it again, kind of going back to just like the vibration and everything. It's like you shift things and things happen.
Yeah. And to me, it's like you being there, it could just be the fact that there are going to be people there, and then you just need to be in front of that one person. You don't know who yet,
Right.
but then that one person could potentially connect you to another person who could be bringing something, you know, or co-creating or giving you an opportunity. Or to me, again, it's just about like following that white rabbit.
Yeah.
And I think what I've learned on this journey, and the question that I get asked a lot in my community, is just that, okay, Arabelle, I can go and spend that money on the flight ticket, on the hotel, on, you know, this house and on this clothes and on this bag because I'm feeling it. But how do I know it's just me wanting it, or if it's that the step that I'm supposed to take right now?
Right. Exactly.
Right?
And that's definitely how I felt.
Yeah. And to me, it's just, I think it's just a discernment that we get to develop over time initially. And it still gets confusing from time to time. Right. But initially, it's just going to be like, oh, is that my ego wanting this? Or is this like a message? Is this like the thing, the door that's opening up for me? I don't know. Mm-hmm. And to me, the way I say it is like, you just know it, you just feel it. If there's no noise, and if you can just remove that noise a little bit, just really feel into it, and you will know whether you're supposed to be there or not. Mm-hmm. And as you take those steps again and again, and if you practice that, and if you work with that muscle a lot more, then over time it just becomes second nature to you to listen and see that white rabbit. And you're going to just start following the breadcrumbs, start following the white rabbit. And it just becomes second nature to you, that before you know it, you just become this manifestation magnet, where like you just become this manifestation queen, where you just magnetize everything so easily, effortlessly.
I love that. Yeah, I want to be able to do that. Again, like I said, it's like I've been learning these techniques. I've been learning this stuff. It's just like I haven't truly fully embodied the practice, more or less. And
I think you're already doing that.
Well, I am. Yeah, you're right. I have to give that part credit. I do. You're right. Yeah, you're definitely right. When you were talking about the part stuff, that was resonating too, because I've done some like last year from June to December, I went through a whole program where we were learning different techniques like NLP and hypnosis and Reiki and EFT and all that. And one of the concepts that we learned though was parts integration. And just, it was, again, kind of like the timing. I was reading like a Gabby Bernstein book, and she was talking all about parts. And then I was like reading something else. Like everything was just like so coincidental, quote unquote, like in the timeline of things happening. But for me, this like recognizing the parts of us that, how you were saying, those different archetypes in a sense, and like showing them love and acknowledging them, validating them. I feel like there are times that I'm still working on that, of course, where maybe I'm judging or I'm shaming or something like that. And instead I need to like fill that place with love and just acknowledge that part of me.
For me, I think love is amazing. And I think we really need to learn to love the parts of ourselves that we think are ugly. And I also personally believe that sometimes it's not just love that we need. Sometimes we need tough love. Yeah. And we just got to tell ourselves off sometimes, like literally stop, Arabelle, like stop with that. You've done that for 2 days now. It's time. It's time to go back, go do your homework. Kind of thing. Yeah.
I've done that recently. I think with the guy, like the guy situation, I think that was it. It was like, I was disappointed. I was bummed out that it didn't work. And then I was like, okay, Kelly, but like, if like you want someone who chooses you, so why are you sulking about this? Like, yeah, you can like allow yourself to be hurt, whatever. But like, also get over it.
Yeah.
Move on.
Yeah.
It's so our minds work, like our emotional body, like everything just works so interestingly now. And granted, more so because we're aware of it. We have so much more awareness of how things work together and the connections that they all have with one another. So I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, it's like a gift and a curse to like have so much awareness around or to be able to feel so much sometimes. Cause it's like, oh my God, like because I never felt so deeply before. Sometimes I'm like, okay, is this what like depression feels like? Do I actually have, like, am I actually clinically depressed sometimes? like I don't know, but it's just because I'm feeling it so much. And I think that's maybe there's a fine line or whatever, but yeah, it's just interesting. I don't know. I'm going on a ramble, but yeah, but I love this stuff. So I love that. But yeah, manifestation, I'm flowing. I'm getting there.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. But thank you so much for today. I'm like, I could sit here and talk to you forever, but respectful of your time. We're like, I gotta get going. But no, thank you so much for sharing those tips about the identity. I think that's extremely powerful, and just sharing your story with us. You are such a kind and empowering person. And I really am glad I flagged down your email and came back to
Thank
it.
you.
I was like, I gotta get her on. I mean, I just, you are a type of person that I do personally aspire to be like. And so thank you for shining your light. And, there's a reason you were meant to meet me. So,
Yeah, 100%. Thank you so much for having me on and, having this conversation. I really enjoyed it. Absolutely. And I hope that your audience enjoy this conversation as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And share with them where they can find you. And if you want to promote anything, definitely go ahead.
No, definitely just IG, Instagram, Arabelle Yee. That's where I'm most active. Okay. And that's where I communicate all my exciting things there as well.
Amazing.
Yay.
I love it. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
If you loved this episode, please download, share, rate, and review. If you are ready to step into that next level version of you and grow your business and bank account, it's time to unleash your goddess magic and chase life with Kelly. You can start this epic expansion journey by diving into the Goddess Magic course bundle found at chaselifetogether.com. Please connect with me on Instagram at chaselifewithkelly. Join the Chase Life with Kelly Facebook community and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Till next time, create the life you crave, babe, and chase life with Kelly.